talk about Bloom's taxonomy, me and my group, and we're going to answer a few questions from the assignment, and we're gonna come up with few questions and elaborate further on those questions.
Okay, the first question is, do you think the current school system supports learners to develop higher order cognitive skills? Motivate your answer.
Yes, in my opinion, I think they do, because at the end of every session in a classroom, teachers need to give reflective activities, of which I think they are shown to improve critical thinking and clinical reasoning skills, which are both considered the higher order cognitive skills.
Me personally, I don't agree with the with the motion, because I believe that kids are being taught to cram more than to actually apply, because I personally feel that as a learner, as a student, you need to know the content so that you can be able to apply it. Unlike if you are cutting and pasting. So if we ask questions, that's why I'm not a fan of the list, name, what those kind of questions, because they make a learner believe that, okay, if I just cram it and then I'm just going to do cut and paste, tomorrow you are going to ask him those things. He doesn't know them because he just crammed them and put them in his answer sheet, and then you give him 10 out of 10. And then at the end of the day, he doesn't even know what they are, what they mean, or what they talk about. They cram more than they actually know the content like they should.
More than enough, I think that the school department and the CAPS curriculum that's implemented in the schools, I think they're doing well enough to support learners to enhance their high order thinking level because of the subject such as technology, where you involve like the project, and then geography, where learners get to create some things like during assignments, maybe go like more volcanic, what can I say, experiments and whatnot, like even on natural science, where I learners experiment some things. So I think like the CAPS curriculum that's implemented now, they're doing very well enough to enhance their high order thinking.
Yeah, I also think that the higher cognitive thinking is encouraged in schools. It's just that in lower grades, it's encouraged lesser than in higher grades, and it progresses with the grades. So it's only in the FET phases that you find higher order cognitive thinkings. In the lower grades, it's where they have less remember, name as the kind of activities that they do in class.
Yeah, guys.
Yes, right. What's the second question? I think we should move on.
Okay, here, but think back on your school career. I believe they mean high school. On which levels of Bloom's taxonomy were you mostly expected to perform tasks? And then second part is, now consider your tertiary education career. On which levels were you mostly expected to perform tasks? Right? By comparing these two experiences, do you think the current school system prepares learners for higher education?
Well, so when I look back on my school career, I believe I was mostly tested on middle level, which is like moderate questions rather than higher cognitive questions. And when I compare now that I'm in tertiary, I feel like I'm asked more of the higher cognitive skills questions. So I felt like they didn't prepare me enough to actually handle these questions. So I feel like during from grade 10, or rather the high school years, learners can just be prepared and drilled with these questions so that they be able to handle when they get in their first year's their first year tertiary. So I feel like I wasn't prepared enough, but it's a struggle, I guess. So I feel like the top Department of Education can actually do more work on that.
If I can say something, I think maybe don't you think maybe it's possible that you feel right now you feel like those questions were of, like let's say middle level,
Yeah.
and then these ones that you're experiencing in university are of higher, because now your mental abilities are higher than they were before, so you are able to actually compare than you were before.
Yeah,
So it's
definitely.
possible like that.
Anyone else?
I also believe that in my career at the secondary school, they did ask me all the levels of Bloom taxonomy. Just that in high school they were a bit lower than university. Yeah, they enable you to elaborate further and think more critical.
Yeah. Anyone else with an?
Okay, on that, I can say I was not ready to be on the thing, the level of institution with the level that we got at on the primary thing or the high school thing. It's because of on the institution, it's where they're gonna give you a scenario and you need to apply, and they're gonna give you a certain like a picture where you can apply. So it shows that the government needs to implement those things so that they can give us something so that we can like be advanced how to apply the long questions and how to apply the shorter one. Thank you.
Okay, moving on.
Do you think the assessment tool and Bloom's taxonomy could be available in your subject in the APT classroom? If yes, explain why and how you would implement it in your classroom. If no, elaborate on why this is your opinion and provide an alternative tool, framework, or idea for encouraging critical thinking.
I personally, as a business studies teacher, think it would be, it would work in my classroom, a business classroom specifically. Since so business studies is a very broad and theoretical subject, I think it would create some form of a framework and structure for my activities for learners. I think it will help me formulate activities in a manner that will help my learners progress from the simple content to the more complex content with ease, without overwhelming my learners too much with complex or maybe boring them with simple work. Yeah, move from the levels with the Bloom's taxonomy levels accordingly. So I think it will be a very useful tool for me.
Okay, I also think I would use Bloom's taxonomy in my classroom, because of, like, you know, when you're using Bloom's taxonomy, your questions, they start from simple to complex. So there are learners that you will find them, they are struggling with the higher order questions, like normally for example in business, the last section, that's where they test the higher order, that's where they test the higher order, and then you have to apply critical thinking. So in that manner, the question paper will be fair if it starts from section A to section C. So those learners who will be struggling with the last section, they will be able to grab marks in the lower order questions.
I also think assessment tool is very available because learners, they can see where their strong point and weak points, because teachers use memorandums, rubrics, all the stuff to show them how to do their work.
Should we move on?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you think teachers are familiar with the Bloom's taxonomy? Motivate your answer. Do you think teachers know how to apply the Bloom's taxonomy in their classrooms? Thoroughly motivate your answer.
Okay. On this one, I can say no. It's because of the level that they are testing us is not equal. If like the person with the lower level is supposed to be equal with the one that is upper. For an example, the same question paper of business, if they are using the Bloom, it's supposed to be divided into three. Let's say for a practical example, it's section A, section B, section C. Section C, automatically we know that it's 100 marks, and section B is supposed to be 100 marks or 120, while section A is supposed to be out of 70, so that we know that the lower one is supposed to like the lower one is gonna be on the is gonna be able to understand. Let's say it's gonna be able to grab the 70 marks on his pocket or her pocket. Then on section B, he's gonna grab at least 10 marks or 20 marks because of it's very high. For some of us, we cannot be able to apply on section C. We are not able to create. So we know that on section C, we're gonna get, let's say, 0. And if the blooms is gonna be set up into 100, it's gonna be unfair for some of us, which is we know that on section C, we are not good on section C.
I say yes. The teachers are familiar with the Bloom's taxonomy because when the teachers focus on the content, they include all the levels so that the learners could be familiar with them in the exam papers. Because section A and B focus on level 1 and 2, and section C focus on level 4 to 6. So I think they're familiar with it.
So I also think they're also familiar with the Bloom's taxonomy, but they lack the skills to apply it in their classrooms. Because I feel like Bloom's taxonomy is a language that you should use in your class so that the kids are familiar with it, instead of just like giving them tests and applying it on your assessment tools. I'd rather stick to it as a language so that they're able to. So I think they lack that necessary application in their classrooms. So I feel like if they apply it in their classrooms, the kids will be familiar to the point that even if they have tests and exams, it's smooth. It's just the smooth transitions for them.
Okay, I also think the teachers, they are familiar with the Bloom's taxonomy, but then in terms of the application, I think they do apply it, but when it comes to some sections, they lack, they don't actually spend most of the time, especially with the last sections. Normally when they ask questions on the last section, whereby maybe on business studies, it's section C, whereby you have to write essays and stuff like that. But the learners, they struggle when they come to that section. But with the other sections, it's easy because of they are always given easy activities. Teachers don't give them like they don't give them activities that they would challenge them. They're using higher cognitive thinking lesser, and the other levels they're using them lower.
That's exactly what I mean.
Okay, so I also believe that teachers must also emphasize the higher cognitive thinking in class, ask higher order questions every time in class than small number of low order questions. They must ask higher order so that they can train their learners to be prepared for the test and exams.
Next question.
I think it was clear enough. So the last question is, if you use higher order action verbs such as create, evaluate, and design, it ensures that the task that follows is on a higher cognitive level. Do you agree with this statement? Thoroughly motivate your argument.
Yes, I do agree with the statement that evaluate, create, and design enables learners to think out of the box, to discuss, and to come up with their own opinion when answering the questions.
Yeah, I strongly agree with the statement that create, evaluate, and design, it stimulates the high order thinking or high order cognitive level. If you can say, for instance, like the term high order cognitive level, it involves the clear, logical, and reflective manner to solve problems or make decisions. You should have like the logic, like the understanding of the problem before making a judgment based on that. So the words such as the verb such as create, evaluate, and design, it supports and challenge the consensus to formulate strategies in order to solve the problems, like to make a judgment. You need to have a reasonable reason, a definite reason to solve problems. You can't just say, okay, let's say like you solve for x, why x is 2. You need to modify it. You need to go by step, you need to have different innovative ideas in order to solve the problem. Like
Okay.
creative ideas.
Okay, just to add on that, like even in general, not like specifically in the subject, it like actually it trains learners to be able to be great thinkers, even if they are not in school in general. They will be able to make like informed decisions in future.
Okay, to add on what Ma'am just said, yeah, it also allows us to come with something so that on this one it means that you are not wrong up until you say something. It shows like we need to come with an ideas, or you can create something that if someone's gonna tell you that you are wrong, that's when you're gonna be okay. It's fine, now I'm wrong. But if no one's been proven to you that you're wrong, you need to come with ideas so that you can implement and create everything. Thank you.
Yeah. If I may say something, Lina. Oh, sorry. If I may say something, these verbs create, evaluate, design. They are quite challenging action verbs in a question, because they don't depend. It depends on your level of understanding. You create, you evaluate, you design according to your level of understanding. It's not dependent on memory, on remembering the things you read them exactly from the textbook. It challenges your order of thinking. So I think yes, it's a high order of thinking. Yeah, and I think we've answered all the questions in the paper, so maybe we can just conclude.
Yeah, guys, I think in conclusion, we can say we all learned something today about Bloom's taxonomy, and how, although teachers are familiar with it, they still need to know how to actually apply it in their classrooms and setting up question papers.
Because I think the CAPS is doing more than enough. Like the resources are out there to make learners to be critical thinkers in classroom, outside the classroom, just everywhere. Like CAPS, it's more than enough.
Yeah, and in general, I believe we've all seen the CAPS. We've just didn't realize it's the CAPS that we were seeing in our high school level. Yeah. It is used. It's used very often, but it's like the teachers don't use it in a more spontaneous manner, in a way that they themselves create the kind of Bloom's taxonomy questions. They are more dependent on the questions that they get from the Department of Education, from exam papers and everything and whatnot. If they could maybe use their own creativity with the Bloom's taxonomy, I think it would be of great advantage for the learners.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for watching, guys. See you next time.
Thank you.